Have you ever wondered what it's like to work in law enforcement? Here on Behind the Star, we share stories about the Orange County Sheriff's Office, Central Florida's largest law enforcement agency. From forensics to dispatch to the deputies on patrol, we'll talk to the brave men and women who protect our community. This is Behind the Star, the official podcast of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Welcome to Behind the Star, the official podcast of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. My name is Jon Busdeker, the official storyteller of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. And before we get too far, I need to apologize to all of our many listeners out there because typically our show comes out on Wednesdays, and I got a little behind this week, so it's coming out on Thursday, but doesn't mean that we're not wanting to do this show. I just got a little busy this week. So the show is out today, Thursday. So thanks for people who sent me messages to remind me that the show didn't come out on Wednesday, but we're doing it now. So anyway, I'm really excited about today's show because we're talking to some folks that get to do a lot of really fun stuff here at the Sheriff's Office. We're talking with some folks at the Community Relations team. So I'm here with Sergeant Menachem Green and Lieutenant Alex Greenberg. Welcome to Behind the Star.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Hey, John. Thank you so much for having us.
Of course. So before we get too far, I want to ask both of you, what exactly is community relations? What do you guys do?
So we are the friendly arm of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. We come out and we engage with the community on fun events and crime prevention events, and overall bring the excitement that we have for protecting our community to the community so they can share with us in this project of keeping us all safe.
So, Sergeant Green, does that sound about right?
Sounds about right. It does. And one thing is, when people think of law enforcement, they always think of the SWAT team and they think of the patrol officers that come. But we're another component that gets out there and really entrenches ourselves with the community, building those positive relationships.
All right, so we'll get into some of the activities and things that you guys do and your whole department does. But before we get that far, I usually like to start off by kind of how each of you ended up here at the agency. I'll start with Lieutenant Greenberg because he's higher up on the chain than you are, Sergeant Green.
Not by much, though, because my colleague here is just absolutely excellent.
So, Lieutenant Greenberg, how did you end up here at the Sheriff's Office?
I actually started in 1998 as a civilian, as a 911 operator, and I worked my way up through the ranks, became a deputy sheriff, and I've served in just about every sector of our county. I was in narcotics, I was in auto theft, and when I was promoted to lieutenant, I worked on the midnight shift as a watch commander, which was very rewarding, an exciting job. And then I was given an opportunity to serve here in community relations. And I have to tell you, I was just so excited about the mission. I got to see lots of smiling faces, and the staff in community relations, Sergeant Green and everybody that we work with, they're so enthusiastic about bringing this mission to life. So that's how my journey landed me here.
So a 911 operator, was it just like a job you took and then you became a deputy, or did you want to get into law enforcement?
Well, I actually was a police explorer as a child, and I've always been interested in law enforcement, and I applied to be a deputy, and they said that I needed some experience. And I really,
so
it crushed me. It crushed me as a child. I was like, I have to have experience. So I started in the 911 center, and that really was a learning curve because I learned how to work with people, but more importantly, how to talk with people, not talk to people.
Okay. All right. No, that's great. I mean, that's a one way probably into this job that people probably don't think. You probably think, oh, you go to the academy and then you're a deputy, but there's a lot of sort of avenues that people take to want to become deputies. So that's interesting.
Certainly. I have to say it's the way that I came up made it easier for me to learn because I had a lot of the foundation work done, and also the appreciation for talking with the community came from those early years working in the communication center.
All right, so Sergeant Green, how did you end up here at the Sheriff's Office?
So kind of a little backstory. I grew up in New York City and joined the Army Reserves and was going to college in New York City during 9/11. 9/11 happened, and I ended up being a rescue worker at the World Trade Center for about a week. And after that, I went back to my Army recruiter, and I said I want to go active duty. I want to go infantry to serve the country on a larger scale. Did a deployment in Iraq, got out of the service, and like all New Yorkers, you transition to where? To Florida.
Yeah. Well, normally they do that when they're in their 70s, so you did it a little early. That's right, you got smart early.
Yeah, I took the jump start on that, headed down here. So I made my way down here, and I had an interest either in law enforcement or the military. After leaving the military, I said I definitely want to get into law enforcement. So I actually joined the Orange County Corrections Department over here. And I did about a year and a half as I went, as I was working full time. I also did a crossover academy where I was able to get my law enforcement certification, and then came out to the sheriff's office.
Huh? Why did you come to Orange County? Why Orlando?
I mean, who doesn't want to come to Orlando? We have all the theme parks. We have everything here. I had one daughter at the time we moved here, and I thought it'd be a great place to raise a kid. And now I have 2 kids, and I raised them here. And it's
Really? So
everything's
just
going
all
great.
places in Florida, you chose Orlando.
Orlando.
All right. Well, I can't argue with that. So when you became a deputy, have you sort of done it all here at the sheriff's office?
I wouldn't say I've done it all, but
right.
Obviously the sheriff's office has wonderful opportunities and so many opportunities to do. But I've really invested a lot of my career in community relations. Several years ago, I was a crime prevention deputy. Even leading up to that, when I worked patrol, I was very active with the community, and that led me here today to want to come back to the community relations section as a sergeant, because it's something that I really truly believe in, building these relationships with the community.
All right. So tell me, we'll go back a little bit to community relations. So how many people are in the department, and are there different roles in it, or what does everybody do?
Well, certainly. It's actually a smaller unit that does a very large job. So we have 16 civilians, and they break down department heads for things such as volunteer programs, senior programs. We have our citizens on patrol. We have our crime prevention unit, which is staffed by deputy sheriffs. So it's a pretty big unit as far as the amount of responsibility that they have, even though we have a few less people than most of the other sections.
So I guess my sort of run-in with community relations so far has mostly been, a lot of it's been like the barbecues and even National Night Out. Is that just one sort of portion of it? And even that, maybe talk about some of those things that you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely one of the components of it. We do so many different things. Coming out of our section, we actually have a senior programs coordinator who works with our senior community, educates them on different crime prevention strategies that's specific to the senior population.
Like what?
So just like when we see some of these trends where people target the senior community, trying to do some of these scams to come to their home and act like a worker, and then the next thing you know is somebody else is coming into the house and is trying to take some of their belongings. So, and then trying to distract some of our seniors, or some of the scams that happen on the phones that they target the senior population because they feel they're more susceptible to this type of activity, to fall a victim of it.
So then somebody in community relations will go and talk to like a senior group or a retirement home?
So we have a Senior Crime Prevention Academy, which works with our senior citizens and helps to educate them on how to protect themselves, how to spot a scam that maybe they haven't been exposed to before, so they have, the learning curve is gone. They're already kind of protected against it.
Okay.
And, we get a lot of our crime prevention folks that get involved and try to develop them to even be an extra set of eyes for us. And we find that they're home during the day when most folks are working because they're retired, and they're an excellent source of information for us.
Okay. All right. But then let's go back to the events. Are those just, like I said, a small portion of what you do, or is that like a lot of time that you spend on them, or?
I wouldn't say it's a lot of time. I mean, obviously we put forth a lot of effort into our community events to make them wonderful for the community, and we are continuously doing it. So we don't really just do an event and stop. We're always already planning on the next one and trying to work the next one. So it's definitely is a large component. While we have different units, like we were talking about the senior programs and everything like that, when we do these community barbecues and we do these community events, or just this weekend we're having the Safety Expo.
And we should talk about that.
The Safety Expo, it's kind of like an all hands on deck for us, where we're all coming together to make sure we can put together a great event for the community.
So Sergeant Green brought up a good point, so I don't want to go much farther without explaining that. So we have a big expo here at Central Ops. If you're not familiar, it's right at the corner of Colonial and John Young. It's kind of our central operations. And we have this big expo. Maybe you can explain it, Lieutenant Greenberg. What exactly is the expo?
Well, the expo brings together all the parts of the sheriff's office. We have all of our equipment out there. We have all of our subject matter experts out there. We have training academies. We have raffles, giveaways, barbecue. It's a wonderful opportunity to engage with the sheriff's office and also for the community to learn something from us in a partnership. Overall, the Safety Expo, it goes on every year around the same time of year, and it gets better and better every year because we're seeing more and more participation as we go.
It's kind of like an open house. Like if you want to learn a little bit about the sheriff's office, you can come and learn about it. It starts at 9, is that right? Or
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
And the sheriff will be on stage at 11 a.m. We're giving tours through the building. We have training courses. I mean, it's going to be an exciting time.
All right. So some other parts of community relations. You said citizens on patrol.
Yes.
What exactly is that?
So Citizen on Patrol is another. I call it. I know we're law enforcement, so we shouldn't say on steroids, but I always say it's neighborhood watch on steroids.
All right.
So basically, it's where the community can come together. we'll get a handful of people. They have to get certified through the sheriff's office. They have to get trained in what it means to be a citizen on patrol. And basically, it's where people from the community come together after this training. They get a uniform and everything like that, and they get to volunteer their time to patrol their neighborhood.
Okay.
So it's another great resource for them to get out there. And when we say patrol, they're just an extension of the sheriff's office as far as for eyes and ears and not taking law enforcement action or anything like that. But they are out, they are visible, and they do go ahead and they have radios if need to call us to contact us so we can get the deputies out there should they see something.
So what sort of training do they go through? And are we the ones that do the training?
Yes, so we're the ones that do the training, and we'll get them trained up on how to drive the vehicles, proper radio procedures, how to report activity, what exactly we're looking for, what is suspicious activity, and even parking enforcement if they need to, and some basic traffic control.
And I think this goes to a broader point that, obviously we have a lot of people that work at the sheriff's office. We have 2,500 people that work in our agency. I think 1,600 are deputies. But we also have a lot of people that volunteer their time, they're part-time, or maybe they're retired and they're reserve officers,
Right.
which might not fall under community relations. But there's a point of, there's a lot of people that are connected to our agency.
Sure. The sworn deputies would be ineffective without all the support staff behind them. Between the volunteerism and the civilian support staff, everybody that goes from sweeping the floor here, people maintaining our cars, keeping our records, making sure that the sheriff's office is a well-oiled machine, and also for the people on the street that help us, our reserve deputy sheriffs who are volunteering their time to do police work.
Yeah.
This is just an amazing organization where everyone comes together, and it does look seamless, but behind the scenes, it really
It's
is
chaotic.
like absolutely. It's a duck on a pond. It's a duck on a pond. I mean, it looks smooth, but underneath those feet are moving.
Yeah, we're working here. So what about the Teen Academy? Is that part of community relations or not?
It is, and
All right.
it's very exciting in our volunteer squad. And I have to tell you, these kids show up every summer.
And yeah, we should explain. Tell everybody what Teen Academy is.
So the Teen Academy is a week-long summer camp where they come here to the sheriff's office daily, and we have an agenda for them. There's a lot for them to be exposed to. We show them patrol procedures, some of our specialized things like the canine, the horses. We show them some sort of forensics. The program is progressive, and it gets better and better every year. But more importantly, children, I should say, that are interested in criminal justice careers. This is a nice way to take a look at it from the inside, decide if it's something that they're interested in, and also if it's something they're not interested in, it fosters a good citizenship behavior.
Yeah, and it's not just 1 week, isn't it? Several weeks out of the summer. Different classes.
Different classes throughout the summer.
There's a lot of teenagers. I mean, having that many teenagers,
Certainly.
and they're not just here at Central Ops. They're here, and they're out at the training facilities, and they're out at Valencia College to see how we train deputies. Like it's a big
Absolutely.
thing. It's not just
It's a nice survey course of the sheriff's office and of criminal justice as a whole. And then sometimes, actually often, we get police explorer candidates from there where they want to see where that journey leads. And sometimes that journey leads them into the police academy as adults.
So I'll ask you then, Sergeant Green, is that why we do it? Or are we trying to get more deputies, or is it just trying to get people to understand what we do here at the sheriff's office, or a little bit of both?
I mean, it doesn't hurt to get more deputies, but I definitely think it's really just a great way for us to interact with our teens, to build a great relationship with our teens. And actually, it's so popular that, unfortunately, sometimes we have to limit the class sizes, and we always have extra people on the wait list. So it's just something we really do to really engage with our youth, because our youth is extremely important to us.
So I know another aspect of community relations. It seems like a lot of things. It's not just like the one thing that you might think of. You guys help out with the awards ceremony as well.
Well, the awards committee and the awards ceremony falls under a community relations section. And our job is to evaluate all the nominations through a committee process.
And this is something we do here at the agency. Our deputies and even our civilian staff and other people, 4 times a year, I believe, or 5 times a year.
It's 4 times a
4
year.
times a year, we have a ceremony, and we give out awards for men and women that do great things here at the agency.
Sure.
But somebody has to plan that.
Well, sure. I mean, it is a stage production. It's not police work. It's show business. Our job is to put together an entertaining event, and actually through our partnership with Strategic Communications, we have a multimedia experience where they see videos, and there's definitely a very nice way to honor someone for their good deeds and good work.
And it's not just for the record. It's not just for our agency employees. It's also for our citizens that sometimes do just amazing amazing acts of it can be of heroism or whatever it is, and we want to recognize them as well.
True, and we've had that. There was one, at least I know last time we did an awards, it was a video that I did on a woman named Christina and one of our deputies. They helped a man get off a ledge, and they were both given an award, and she was somebody who got an award as well. So you're right, it's not just deputies, it's people that do brave things here in our community.
Yeah, certainly heroes are not just reserved for people who wear uniforms. Anybody that steps in and does something selfless like that to help another, that's a hero.
Yeah. So what else am I missing? What else goes on in community relations that we haven't talked about?
Well, yeah, I know you mentioned volunteers, so we do. One of the volunteer coordinators does actually work out of our section as well. So she's very active as far as recruiting volunteers. Interns get coordinated through our section too. So the agency does have interns that help with our crime analysis, or people that are interested in learning to become a law enforcement officer can intern here at the sheriff's office too. And they work it out through their college. They get the credits that they're entitled to. So that's another great avenue that people that may not be familiar with can understand, that if they are a college student, they can come intern at the sheriff's office.
So the volunteering, like what could a volunteer do here at the sheriff's office?
Well, if we talk strictly volunteers, there's everything from citizens on patrol. There's a chaplaincy unit if they'd like to lead in religion. There's so many opportunities to get involved and be eyes and ears, help out in the sheriff's office with administrative functions. Am I missing any out, Sergeant Green?
There's they really are. I mean, they've helped all over. Even helped of our investigative units as well with some of their parts that they can help with. They're just anywhere you look, you may come across a volunteer that's helping us out. They're really very active and really truly wonderful.
And once again, I think this goes back to that we're such a large agency, and I'm sure we're always looking for volunteers, just like we're always looking for deputies. So if you're interested in that, just go to OCSO.com and you can, I'm sure, find somewhere on the website to volunteer.
Absolutely. You know, the enormity of our agency gives us a kaleidoscope of jobs that we need help with, that we want to involve the community with, and it's a great time to sign up and put some time in volunteerism. So
Sergeant Green, why did you want to join community relations?
You know, it's just something I've been extremely passionate about. I always looked at, in order for us to really keep our community safe and, decrease crime and increase the quality of life, is there needs to be more than just the enforcement aspect of we're going to take people to jail. And because I look at that, that's a shorter fix, but the long-term part is building that community relations, increasing the quality of life in the community, and to hopefully, by being forward-thinking and work on these relationships and everything, to ultimately really keep our community safe. So early on, I realized I kind of look at like the sheriff's office like a clock, an old-school clock, not the new ones where, you know what I mean, but the old-school clock that has the two hands that tell the time. And I look at it, when you think of the two hands that tell time, you think of, like we've said earlier, your patrol guys, your SWAT guys, all those guys that are very active. But then you look at behind the clock, what's making everything happen, everything that's so important for this clock to run. And one important component of it is community relations. Yeah. And that's where I've been extremely passionate about that, and about building those relationships with the community. Because in order for us to get out there and be successful at combating crime and stopping this crime from happening, we need to work with our community. It's a community effort.
How about you, Lieutenant Greenberg? Same thing? Or why did you want to join community relations?
I think that I've always been passionate about creating conversations in our community to not only humanize the badge, but to better serve our community. And the mission of this section is to do just that, to truly show the public my heart and the heart of the sheriff's office, and bring them close to us because we're united in the same mission.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that I've gone out and had the opportunity to do is discuss positive police encounters and how we can have this positive police encounters, because sometimes there's things that happen on the news and on social media and things like that where there's sometimes a misunderstanding. But we can get out there, and I've gone and talked to youth groups and teens and the community and discuss understanding police encounters. And when we have a better understanding, when the community has a better understanding of how the encounters should go, and then we have an understanding of what the community expects from us, it really helps keep our community safe and keeps us all safe, and law enforcement and everybody.
Well, and on that note, I have to say, if there's a question that you have and you've always wanted to ask a police officer, a deputy sheriff, but you were too afraid to, don't be afraid. Ask the question, why do you do this? How do you see that? What's it like? Because I will tell you, more often than not, that deputy would be more than happy to tell you about why and how things work.
Yeah. Have you seen sort of like firsthand the work you've done in the community? I don't know if you've seen it change the community, because that's a pretty broad thing. But do you feel like the work you do is making an impact?
Absolutely. I want to say when I first got into community relations, we were finishing up the community barbecue series.
And you've only been in community relations, Lieutenant Greenberg, for like
6-7 months.
Yeah, not that long.
Right,
Yeah.
but the power of it is undeniable. I'll give you an example. So we were at Holden Park in the Holden Heights community. And we had the community barbecue going. And we had our tactical anti-crime unit out. These are our heavy hitters. They go after the worst of the worst. And we brought them out there in plain clothes to play sports with the kids and to really engage in just a fun time with everyone that was there. And I gave them a little briefing, and I said, listen, this is an opportunity for you to show the community your heart and to at least impress upon one person how much we care.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, a young deputy, he looked over at his squad and he said, hey, guys, let's put our guns in the car. And I would not have ordinarily asked deputies to put their guns away, because I don't know how they would feel about it. I don't know what the look of that is. But I saw his passion to break that barrier, and if they're going to play sports, what would they need that gun for?
Yeah.
And it left me with my jaw hanging that they were willing to lower their guard and just have a good time with the community. It was really left me in awe.
Yeah. And those barbecues are kind of new. That was something new this year, correct?
That is correct. Yes, we started doing these barbecues. We did 3 of them back in March and April. And they were a great success, and we're going to be planning some barbecues coming up in the future. So stay tuned. If you're listening, follow us on social media, on Nextdoor. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on Nextdoor, and you'll see these future barbecues advertised.
So that was my next question a little bit. So what is the future of community relations? Like, are there things that you want to do that you just haven't maybe got to yet, or people have suggested that you say, wow, that's a great idea? Or are there events or things that other departments do that you're like, wow, I wish we could bring that here, and maybe we will, we just haven't yet?
Well, obviously working with partnerships is important to us. We work very closely with Police Athletic League, Children's Safety Village, Pine Hills Community Center, et cetera, et cetera. There's homeowners associations and other businesses that we partner with in order to get the message out. But as far as future plans, I know Sergeant Green and I have been kicking around an idea of a one-stop community resource fair. What is that, you ask?
What is that?
I have an idea, and I don't know that it'll actually come to fruition, but I'm excited about it. A place where maybe we could throw a barbecue or some type of community event.
Usually food helps bring people out.
Listen, eating and relaxing with your neighbors, I mean, that is old school, good times, bringing the neighborhoods into one alignment, right? Yeah. So my thought would be, in this particular area, we would have maybe a mobile DMV office. So folks that maybe were intimidated to get their license straight, they were already there. They could just walk up very, very anonymously and get everything done with the DMV, and no one has to know that they have an issue with their license. Uh-huh. And we could have other services there: housing, education. We can have the Second Harvest Food Bank out there to feed the homeless, or people that genuinely need to have a meal to bring home other than this barbecue we're serving. And to me, that feels like an exciting event that we could kick off. And I know that Sheriff Mina has been behind community engagement from the start.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea, because like you said, sometimes people need to get a lot of stuff done, but in order to do all that, you got to go from one part of town to another part of town.
Line after line after line. Can you imagine if it was just a short line with no numbers, and you're eating some barbecue and hanging out with some friends, and then, my number's up. Yeah. To me, that makes like a perfect way to bring us all together and fix problems in the community.
Yeah, and plus there's this whole idea that, I think all 3 of us can probably attest that we probably live pretty good middle-class lives. Maybe a little higher for the lieutenant over here. But
hey now. So he said he's going to buy us lunch tomorrow. So
all right, good. We got it recorded on tape. But my point is, like all of us can probably take a day off and go to the DMV or go wherever. We can drive from here to there. Not everybody has that ability, and so to do all those things, you need transportation and time. But if you're right, if it was in one spot, you could say, look, we can get all this stuff done at once. So I think that's a fantastic idea. And it doesn't have to be, like you said, all law enforcement. It's all community things.
Absolutely. So, I think that that folks that are intimidated by the process, it would remove the process. Yeah. And that's the goal.
Okay. I like it. So what about challenges? Do you guys have challenges in community relations?
I'll take that one. So due dates are very important to us. Accuracy and the fine details are important to us. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if we're producing a product that's going to be on stage, we want it to be, error-free. And for us, there is no tomorrow if the show is today.
Yeah. And I'll bet that is a bit of a challenge because, like, I'm sure nobody in community relations or anybody in this building is an expert on some of these things. I mean, a lot of us are, a lot of you guys are deputies first, and then, you do community relations. But, like, we go back to doing the awards ceremony. I mean, I don't think any of us are trained in audio-visual tech and stage management and all that. And so, yeah, I'm sure it can be a challenge because we want to put on these great shows, but it's not like we went to 10 years of school to do it.
Sure. I mean, the logistics behind the show are, I mean, if you think about it, it's not only selecting the winners, it's printing the certificates, putting them in frames, getting them in order, figuring out the script for the MC.
And that don't happen by accident.
No, and all that planning has to come together and be effortless because these winners deserve an excellent ceremony.
Yeah. What about with the community? Are there challenges with the community? Just like you said, trying to, I don't want to say win them over, but I'm sure, everybody has their idea of law enforcement, and is that a challenge? I'm putting you on the spot here, Sergeant Green.
Every now and then you come across somebody who wants to, who's
True.
still, you try to explain where you're coming from, and they may have a little, they may not necessarily agree. But,
as a former news reporter, I had those discussions as well with people.
But I will say, I've really, it's just like I said, there's no such thing as a bad community. There may be a troubled individual, but there's no such thing as a bad community. And I've noticed a trend where everywhere we're going in different communities throughout the county, which in the past may have been considered a high crime area, there's a lot more people engaging us with great conversations.
Yeah.
So I would say those barriers that may have existed are really coming down, and I'm seeing a lot more great positive interactions.
What do you tell people when they say, well, why do we have community relations? Why do we even have that at the sheriff's office? I mean, do you have sort of I don't want to say canned answer, but do you have an answer right away to go?
I think we have a duty to support our public. I think that the badge that we wear is an extension of a public trust. And without the public's trust and without their support, we are ineffective. And I'm sure that we've seen throughout the country departments that have failed to impress upon the public that they are good and decent and honest, and community relations continues to share that is who we are.
Yeah, and I saw that. I mean, I see that all the time, but even at National Night Out, I mean, I went to several different ones, and everybody there was very happy to see us. And maybe that's an audience that wants to be on the side of law enforcement. But still, like, people would come up to the sheriff and even all the deputies and shake their hands and say, fantastic job. And as Sergeant Green said, you don't always see that everywhere. But when you do talk face-to-face with people, I think most people do respect what you guys do.
Well, we appreciate that, and I think that we're trying to foster that trust through regular conversation. Yesterday was National Coffee with a Cop Day.
Yeah. Did you guys help organize that as well?
Yeah, that's our project.
Okay, all right.
And Sergeant Green actually went to some locations. Sheriff Mina went to a location. We had staff throughout Orange County meeting and talking with folks over a cup of coffee at different locations. And, maybe Sergeant Green, you could tell me how that was when you were chatting with the public.
Yeah, I think it's really great because continuing on these barbecues and everything we're doing, what we're trying to do is normally in the past when people have had an experience with law enforcement all around the country, it's either they're the victim of a crime, the suspect of a crime, a bad day, traffic stop, they may be getting a ticket. There's usually people don't just happen across us. But what we're doing here now is we're having, whether it's a coffee with a cop, we're having coffee and conversations. We just want to talk. It doesn't have, if there is obviously concern that they have that they want to bring to our attention, we're there for that too. But we just want to talk. We want to, as the lieutenant mentioned earlier, humanize the people behind the badge. And I always say it's not only is it so wonderful for the community to see, but I think it's so important for us as law enforcement as we continue on this career and you encounter sometimes very sad or very unfortunate situations, that it's a reminder for us too. It humanizes all people out there that we serve also.
I think that's a really good point. And I'm sure a lot of people who don't wear a badge don't maybe understand that, because you're right. I mean, people that are deputies and officers, they also see people on their worst day, and most of the time. And you might get used to every time I have to encounter somebody, I'm arresting them, I'm writing them a ticket, I'm giving them a warning. Maybe, but you're right. There's a lot of people out there that really do respect what officers do, and they might not tell you every time they see you, but I'm sure when they see you, maybe I'm glad I'm not doing that job.
Well, I really encourage any law enforcement officer to get out there and talk with the public, because I know what it's like to work in a tough neighborhood where those conversations are not easy. And you'll find if you break the ice, you'll realize who you're fighting for.
Yeah, because I'm sure a lot of people in that quote-unquote tough neighborhood, they don't want it to be a tough neighborhood. They want it to be a good neighborhood where
Absolutely.
Everybody feels safe. It's like
everybody wants the same thing.
Exactly. And sometimes some people spoil that. All right. Well, I think that's it for this week. I really appreciate Lieutenant Greenberg and Sergeant Green. Thank you so much for chatting with me this week.
It's been a pleasure, really.
And
thank you so much for having
as
us.
I said, I kind of knew a little bit of what you guys did over there, and so now I know a lot more. And
Thanks for
I'm
listening.
looking forward to the
Don't
next
forget
community
to
barbecue.
subscribe. To
All right,
Behind
well,
the
come on
Star.
out. We'll get you some
can
chicken.
Find us
All right.
wherever
We'll
you
see
get your favorite
see everybody
podcast.
next week.
Also, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Until next time, I'm Jon Busdeker, and this is Behind the Star.